Going to be working through 3C today, and 3C is focusing on reflection. So with reflection comes two parts. One is we can have it in the x-axis and we can also have it in the y-axis. So if we're saying a reflection in the x-axis, it means we've got a mirror line along that axis. That means for it to be reflected, this y value needs to go to the other side. So that therefore, that means that we're just putting a negative on that value. So it's changing by just putting a negative on the y value. So that means with this function x cubed plus x squared, we the right out in front will be a negative, and I'll keep that in brackets. Just be mindful that we can then apply that negative to everything inside as well. If we're talking about reflection in the y-axis, it also means that I am just going to have a mirror line on that y-axis there. So if I have a mirror line, all that means is my x values are going to be switched over. So to do that, I'm just going to put a negative on whatever x value I have. If I do that, it's flipped over and reflected on that axis. This page is just the rules on what I've gone through. So it's just saying the new y value here, when it's reflected in the x-axis, it's just negative with that y value. Let's look at some examples. The first example, find the equation of the image when the graph of y equals x plus 2 squared is reflected. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put a image up of that mirror line. So if it's reflected in the x-axis, it means the y value is going to have the negative. So that means the negative will be out the front of that equation and it will become y equals negative in brackets x plus 2 squared. Likewise, in the y-axis, it means that x is going to have the negative, which means I'm placing that negative in front of the x in the equation and it becomes y is equal to negative x plus 2 squared. Now, with this question here, negative x to the power of 3, we know straight away because there's no brackets with the x, it means that we're going to be having that negative with that y value. And with any polynomial, we know that the domain will be all real numbers. So if I'm graphing it of y equals x cubed, um, if we've got a negative with the y, it just means it's reflecting in the x-axis. Likewise, with y is equal to square root negative x, first thing I'm going to think about is what is occurring? Well, that negative is next to that x value, so x is turning into negative x. That also means that it is being reflected in the y-axis. So our original graph was looking like this. Because our x value is turning to be a negative, it's going to be graphing from 0 all the way into quadrant 2. This therefore gives us a new domain. I wrote it down wrong, so I'm going to fix it on here, but it should be negative infinity to 0. Now, one of the things you'll notice is I've got a round bracket here. That round bracket is referring to, it will never meet that number because it's infinite, but it can equal 0, which is why we have a square bracket there. Okay, let's look at the next question. So we are going to state the transformation of which y is equal to x cubed to y is equal to negative x to the power of 3. So the first thing, that negative is being placed on that x value. So that means the x value is changing, which means it's being reflected in the y-axis.